Good evening, everyone. If you are looking for APIs and your AMS benefits of an API integration, I think you are at the right place. I am Neeraj Garg, and I am the Chief Operating Officer at Aplusify. In today's webinar, what we are going to discuss is why do you actually need API integrations with your AMSs? What are the benefits that you can derive out of it? And what are the special things or pitfalls you should avoid while doing API integrations with your AMS? So I think before we start, I just wanted to launch a poll and get your views on what you think about your organization systems. So let me launch the poll. Yeah. So the poll question is, do you have silo systems in your organization? So you can just answer yes and no to it. Okay. I'll give it 10 more seconds for everyone to fill in it. Okay, that's good. We have got the results. I think 75% people think that they have silo systems. There are 25% who think they don't have silo systems. So I think moving on, let's go to the first slide and let's try to understand a basic landscape of an association or a nonprofit. Now, and I think everyone who is attending this webinar can actually relate this particular landscape that you have. So you have your CRM system, which can be Salesforce, which can be Salsa, which can be Scribe or any other thing. Then you have your association management system, which can be Fontiva, Nimble, or any other AMS. Then you may have a learning management system, which can be either Talent LMS or Melimo or any other stuff, LMS that you might be using. You can have an event apps, which can be Fontiva events if you're using it, if it can be C event, or you can have something called Salsa Engage. Then your marketing team might be using Pardot or Marketo for marketing automation. And obviously you will have an accounting system, which can be QuickBooks, or maybe Fontiva payments or whatever it is. And then you have internal legacy systems that your associations or nonprofit has been using for quite a while. Now, all these systems, right, you may have either 2 or 3 or maybe all or more than these systems in a particular landscape. And when we talk about systems, silo systems, we mean that your Salesforce CRM, your Fontiva, your AMS, or your LMS are actually discrete systems which are actually not talking to each other. Okay, and that is why API integration is important, because what API integration does is connect all these silo systems into one so that you have one source of truth and you can get a 360-degree view of your members, because unless you understand your members, you cannot keep them happy. You cannot understand what problems they are facing. And the only way to understand them is to understand from different systems how they're using it and making them one. And that is the whole purpose of API integration with AMS to different systems. Now, I think let's understand it from a very general life example on what we mean by silo systems and what we mean by integrating them and how it actually helps, how this integration helps. So imagine a bank, right? Now, if you, and I know everyone must be having a bank account in one of the banks. You may be holding a credit card from a bank. There might be mortgage you might be running from a bank. There may be some health insurance that you might be using, or maybe a personal loan. Right now, imagine that you are with a bank. You have a banking account with them. You carry a credit card from the same bank. You are running a mortgage from the same bank. So every department that we have depicted in this bank, whether it's the banking account or the mortgage or the credit card, they are actually separate departments in a bank. Okay. So, and each department has its own system. Okay. So these systems act like a silo system. Now imagine these systems are not connected and they are working as silo systems. So what will happen is a customer executive calls you, right, and asks you to get a credit card for the bank. So you already might have a credit card because you are a banking customer for that bank. You are running a mortgage with the bank. You are holding a credit card from the bank. But since the banking account information is not passed to the credit card department, the credit card department does not know that you are actually a credit card customer with the bank as well. And then they try to cross-sell you your credit card, which is actually frustrating because when you have a relationship with a bank and you have been with the banking customer for a lot of years, it makes you feel low that your bank does not know you, right? So because you are running, because you're holding a credit card for 5 years and they are still selling you a credit card. So which actually puts the value of the bank at stake because they are not knowing their customer and you don't feel connected to the bank. And what is the reason for that? The reason for that is that these systems that the bank is running, they are not connected to each other. So if these systems were connected with each other and the data was being passed from one system to another, right? The customer executive will actually know by logging into the system that this member is actually this customer is actually a banking account customer with us. He holds the credit card. He's also running a mortgage. So instead of maybe cross-selling, they might be actually doing a upselling where they might be asking you that this is the certain limit on your credit card which you are using. You want to enhance your limit based on the transactions you have been doing and based on your habits, which would have sounded better, right? But just cross-selling when you already have that product sounds embarrassing, both for the bank, both for the customer, right? And that is how it is with every system. And I think if we want to have a better member experience, we need to break these silos, right? And have one unified system where every information is visible to everyone so that you are able to understand your customer better and be able to serve them better. Because you can only serve them better if you know about their habits, if you know about them, and you can run some kind of analysis on it. Right? So this is a very general life example that everyone faces, and it's related to every system. So we can relate that to our association management systems or the first slide that we are talking about. So this is the same, right, where you have different silo systems. So sales team might be closing the opportunities in Salesforce, but that opportunities are not passing into your AMS system. Some of the members are using learning management system, but you actually don't know what interest they have since the data is not flowing into AMS or your marketing system. You are generating different invoices, which might be duplicate in the accounting system. So these are all kind of hassles that your members experience when these systems are not integrated. So, and that is why we say we need to integrate, right? Because what will happen if all of your systems that are actually silo systems become one is all your members will have one access for one system, right? So it would be one system, they log into one system, and they should be able to access all other systems, right? Which would be easier for them. You don't have to remember multiple user IDs and passwords for each of the system. and it would be like one unified system for them, which is the one source of truth for them. And what will happen will be that since your systems are connected to each other, the data is flowing between different systems. Obviously, different departments can see what is happening with their customers, what members want, what members don't want, and it would actually help you remove duplicate data from the system. And obviously, once you have got systems connected and you can see what members like, what learnings they are doing in learning management system, what are they doing on the social media websites, you can actually run analytics through Salesforce Einstein maybe, and try to gauge the member experience, how well connected the members are with your system, and maybe provide that personalized member experience through that member data collected, right? So it may be that one of your members may not have renewed his membership, right? Now, if you don't have a unified system, you will just send him renewal notice, right? It might be that he might be running some problem or he might be out of job, right? And is not able to pay the membership fees. So if you have two systems or three systems connected to each other, right, you may be able to understand his problems. Maybe you will understand that he's running out of job. And instead of maybe sending a renewal notice to him, it might be that you might help him find a job through your websites, right? And maybe once he gets a job, right, maybe he will be able to pay his renewal fees, and you are able to show sympathy and empathy to your customers or members, right? Which would be a lifetime loyalty for them. Okay, so that is what happens when you actually have systems integrated to each other. You try to understand your members and can have a better member engagement with the members. You are able to understand what events they are attending, what learnings they want to do, what you should actually present in the learning management courses. So all this kind of data actually helps you understand your members better and provide them with a personalized member experience, right? And if your AMS is actually connected to the social media, you can actually run campaigns through that, right? Maybe form a networking group with your members through communities where they can actually interact with other members, right? Maybe interact with mentors to guide them into different things, right? And you have single source of data where you actually understand what member is expected to do out of your system, what he expects from your system. And I think that is the only way to keep your members engaged and understand who are the leaders in your system, who are the members who are not so much associated with your AMS, and what things you should actually do for them in order to engage them, right? Because unless you have a roadmap to understand what your members want, and what your members want can only be collected through data, right? And data, if you have silo systems, is lying in different data systems. So you may have duplicate data, you will have maybe data which has missing records, plus you are not able to analyze your members. And if you're not able to analyze your members, you will not understand what kind of experience they want. And it would be the same like a bank where they still have a credit card for your bank, but your sales team is pitching them for having a new credit card, which hurts the members or the customers because they get that feeling that you are not caring for them, you are not worried about what they think, and that is bad. If the members are not associated with your system, they are not going to stick to your system for long. And if they are not going to stick for a system, you are not going to have renewals and you cannot have more memberships. So that is why you need to integrate. Now let's take some examples on like what all can you integrate. So here what we have done is QuickBooks and AMS integration, right? So QuickBooks is an accounting system, right, which you might be using or you might be using some other accounting system. So what benefits do you get if you integrate your AMS with your accounting system? See, accounting is something which is very crucial. That is something which brings in revenue, and that is where everything should be accurate, right? So if you have two disparate systems where you are selling your memberships through your AMS system, and the data from AMS is not flowing to the uh, accounting system, it would all be manual stuff, right? So there would be security risks because these are financial transactions. And when you do manual entry, there are chances of human errors. So imagine a scenario where Justin, who is actually a long-time member of an association, right? He has already cleared his dues payment. But since the data is not flowing directly from your AMS to your accounting system, there is a manual entry that is done in the accounting system for the clearance of dues. And sometimes due to human errors, that entry might get missed. And though he's already made the payment, right, but his memberships get suspended because the system says that he has not cleared his dues because of a human error. Now, that would be like that would be a big blow to the member because he has paid his dues and you are telling him that he has not paid his dues, right? So what it does is it actually loses credibility. He loses faith in your system. He says that I made the payment, but it's not showing. That means your system is not so robust, and I don't want to take further risks with the system. So a small mistake can cause a big harm to your membership. Right now, obviously, if there is a manual entry, all your member payments and card processing and invoice generation is done in two systems, there is always a possibility of error when you are actually syncing these two systems because you are syncing them manually. You are doing data entry in two systems. You are doing data entry in AMS. You are doing data entry in your accounting system, and that may go haywire any point of time, right? So if you have to improve the processes and you have to make sure that the processes are automated, it should be free flow between these two systems, where if you do any changes in AMS in terms of membership fees or in renewals, that is same reflected in your accounting system. The data should flow freely at real time or maybe in batch whenever you want it. But that can only happen if you have both these systems integrated. And that would be easier for your finance team and your membership team, right? Because right now it's just manual stuff where they're interacting. And if they automate it, it would be easier because then there is one source of truth, which is the data in both the systems, which is in sync. And if there are any issues, it will get noticed immediately, and you will not have issues like asking a member has already paid to clear his dues again, right? Because that is something which you don't want to do in your system. Similarly, nowadays social media is so important. Everyone is on social media, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Facebook, it's LinkedIn, YouTube, right? Everyone wants to promote their stuff on social media because everyone is on it, right? And I think it is a great platform to stay connected with your members. You can post news about your events and opportunities on these social platforms, and people catch it very easily there. But that is only possible if your AMS is actually integrated with your social media. If it is not, I think you lose that chunk of posting your events and activities on social media. So it actually helps you in promoting your membership. It actually helps those members who are not so active on social media to make sure that the social media is integrated with your website. And whenever they visit your website, they're able to see those events and social media posts which you have posted, right? So try embedding the videos on your social media and website from platforms like YouTube, and get site visitors' attention and create more engaging content. Okay, because if social media is not integrated with your AMS, all these things will lack, right? People who are not active will not know about what is happening within the membership. And I think it is a great way of marketing, right? This is all, we are living in a digital world, and digital marketing is the buzz. And if we have to market, we have to spread it through social media. And we can only spread through social media if our system is integrated with social media. If it is not, then obviously we are hampering our marketing. We are not able to publicize more, right? And we are not using social media, which is the greatest platform to stay connected. So I think social media will help you engage your members better and will help you motivate them, and you can actually motivate them to participate in all the activities that you are doing for the association, right? And all these integrations are simple, right? AMS generally provide APIs which you can easily integrate with all of them, and that is it, right? But it just needs a thought process that we have to integrate these silo systems that are working as different departments in a bank. Similarly, if you have got your AMS integrated with your Pardot system, which is actually an automated marketing system, right? What will happen is you will have syncing between those two systems, okay? Which means that there is one central place where the data will be stored, right? You can actually track your prospects better. So generally what Pardot does is it assigns different scores to different activities that members do, right? So based on their preferences, you can actually understand them better, right? You can actually understand how that lead came into the system, how many times, what were the links that he clicked. So you will know the entire story of the lead before it comes to the sales team, right? And then the sales team will know what to talk to him to close that lead, because they have already gathered that data. They have that data in the database because it's a centralized database. They understand that member, they understand that lead, and are able to close it much sooner rather than talking to the marketing team and getting a feel about how the lead is. And obviously, then if you have got both these systems integrated, you have got one system to log on where you can easily access both your marketing and the sales system. So if a lead is assigned to someone in Salesforce, you can easily log in and see how the lead has flown from the start till the end, right? What all websites he clicked, what all emails he, marketing emails he opened, what are his different tastes, what he wants to learn, why does he want to join the association, right? And that would be easy for the sales team to close the lead. And when you have more closures, you get improved ROI on your returns, right? And faster closure of leads. So these are some of the benefits that you have for different systems that you integrate with your AMS, right? Now, when we talk about integrations, it's very important to understand that how should we determine that we should integrate, right? So obviously integrating is integrating two systems so that data flows between those two systems. But how do we determine that we need an integration? That is, I think, the first question we should understand. So first question I think you should ask is, are you wasting a chunk of your time in syncing data between AMS and apps, right? So if your systems are not integrated, you have to sync them manually, right? Whether you run that sync in 15 days or 7 days, it depends on you, but it's a manual activity, right? And if it's a manual activity, you need a person or you need efforts to run that sync. So you need to understand like how many hours are actually spent on syncing this data between two systems, right? Are you spending maybe 4 hours daily or maybe 30 hours in a month, right, which comes to around 360 or 400 hours a year, right? So you need to determine how much effort are you spending on syncing. And second thing I think you should understand is the app that you are trying to integrate. Like if you're trying to integrate an LMS with your Fontiva, now does Fontiva provides that kind of APIs that you can actually connect with that particular LMS? If not, I think then I think you need to rethink, because if there is no API, it would be a very complex integration. You should always prefer integrations for which your AMS generally provides APIs, right? So you need to ask that question. You need to find out whether the API, whether the app that you're integrating with your AMS is actually providing APIs for integrating it. And if it has APIs, obviously, then you need those kind of technical skills to integrate these stuff, right? You need to understand, do you have the technical skills available who can do this integration? Is it in-house that the team is available, or do I need to go and hire an external consultant to do it? Because integration is a very niche job, right? Everyone cannot do it. It should be someone who has actually done that before. Because if it is not hit and try, right? It is something which has definite steps to be followed for a particular kind of integration. So you need to understand if there is a technical expertise within your team who can do this integration, or I need to hire someone else who can actually do this integration. Now, I think the fourth question that you should ask is, are you seeking analytics beyond the scope of Salesforce and your AMS, right? So in today's world, obviously, as I told you, that you need to understand your members, right? And if you need to understand your members, you need to analyze them. You need to understand their behavior. You need to understand how many events a member is attending. Is he actually giving you donations, right? Is he actually interested in other campaigns that you are running, right? So all these things needs to be analyzed, and they can only be analyzed if you have that kind of data. And that is the only thing that is actually going to help you in marketing and sales, right? And if you have got Salesforce integrated, and since Fontiva and any other platform is built on Salesforce platform, it's important to use those analytical skills of Salesforce Einstein to analyze the data that you have, right? So you need to understand if you're going to use that analytics to understand your members better. And I think last not the least, are you going to use the same technology for the next 3 and 5 years? Because if you think that you're not happy with your current AMS, there is no point in integrating that AMS with other apps, right? Because that would be a waste of effort. Okay, so you need to understand that the AMS that you are using, I'm going to use it for the next 5 years to 10 years, right? If you think that answer is yes, then you should go for that integration. So I think these are the 4 or 5 questions that you should ask before you go for the integration, right? And I think that is the type of question you should ask your stakeholders as well, and then plan your integration. Now, once you integrate, right? Once you're integrating 2 systems, so suppose you are integrating AMS with your LMS. Okay, so there are 3 scenarios while you integrate. The first scenario is that there is data only in your AMS. Now, this will happen when you're already using an AMS, right? And the app that you are using, that is something new, which you have not used before. So it may be that you're using Fontiva and you plan to integrate it with C event, or you buy a C event app, or maybe Fontiva events, and you try to integrate those 2 systems. So since you're already using AMS, Fontiva, the data is already there. But since you have got the new system, an event app, right, that there's no data out there, right? So it would be just one-way sync then, where you just have to sync the data from your AMS system to the event app system. So it's a unisync, one directional sync. Now, the second scenario is that you are using an LMS, learning management system, right? And you don't have an AMS, right? So you just invest in an AMS, Pontiva or Nimble, okay? And you want to move the data from LMS to your new AMS, right? So again, it would be a one directional sync because the data will flow from learning management system to your AMS system, right? Because the data is only in one app. Then the third scenario is you are using both the AMS system and the learning management system, right? But they were not integrated. They were silo systems. Now you think that I need to integrate them so that I have a source of truth and my productivity will increase. So you decide to integrate them, and then you have data in both the AMS system and the LMS system, right? So it would be a bidirectional sync where the data will flow from AMS to LMS and the data from LMS will sync into AMS, right? So you have to think through these scenarios. These are the only three scenarios that will happen when you do any kind of integration, right? So you need to understand whether it's a unidirectional sync that will happen or a bidirectional sync that will happen. So a unidirectional sync will happen in the first two cases where you have just one system and you have bought another and you want to integrate. The bidirectional sync will happen when you're using both these systems, but they are silo systems and you want to integrate it now. Okay. So these are three scenarios which happens when you sync data between those systems. Now, once we integrate, okay, so there are certain things that we should avoid. Okay. There are certain pitfalls we should avoid. So I think first of all, an integration is a project, right? It has a definite start time and a definite end date. So, and any project should not be started without any clear scope. Okay. When I mean scope, you should first understand that why is there a need of integration? And if there is a need of integration, what is my scope, right? Am I trying to integrate two systems which have an API? Is it a unidirectional sync that I have to do? Is it a bidirectional sync that I have to do? And what is the expectation of these stakeholders when I'm starting this project? So it's always good to actually get a buy-in from your stakeholders who are actually using the system, right? Because, for example, you are trying to integrate your AMS with your marketing system, which is Pardot. Okay. So I think you should get the buy-in from the users, membership users, and you should get a buy-in from the marketing team, right? And those two teams should give you a clear scope on what they understand, and you should get a sign off from both the teams, right? And whenever you are integrating, right, so there are some custom configurations you might have done in these systems. So you have to make sure that you identify those custom configurations, right? Because these are the things that will not actually sync automatically because they are custom. That is something that you have written on your own, which is not out of the box. So you will have to see those custom configurations, and you will have to take into account that when I migrate, I need to take care of these custom configurations so that these custom configurations are migrated to the new systems manually. You have to make sure that you don't propagate bad data from one system to another. Now, what do we mean by bad data? Bad data means anything that is missing records, missing date of birth, maybe missing membership dates, duplicate data, right? Records appearing one or twice or three times. Then inconsistent data. So inconsistent data can be that your date of birth is DDMMYY format in somewhere, and somewhere it is MMDDYY format. That would create problems, right? So, and then incorrect data, right? So in maybe country, you have somewhere as, so in country, it is either instead of a text, you have a numerical value, right? So instead of United States, you have a value of 1 or 2 or 3. right? So all this data is bad data because what will happen is if you don't clean up this bad data from one system before migrating it to another, that same problem will get replicated into the second system. So if you have 100 missing records or maybe 1,000 missing records in one system, they will get propagated into second system, and now you have doubled your problem. But instead of 1,000, now you have 2,000 records which are missing. Okay? So make sure that you clean your data before you migrate it from one system to another. Okay, otherwise it would cause problems. So do a proper health check before you start any kind of integration activity. That is very, very important. And then obviously when you're mapping two systems, they may have different fields. So an opportunity in maybe Salesforce maybe is something else in Fontiva. So you need to map those kind of fields from one system to another so that the right values get transferred from one place to another. Okay. So make sure that there is a proper field mapping done before any kind of migration is done or any kind of integration is done. And I think all this comes with expertise, right? Don't try things. Make sure that you get the integration done from someone who has done it before, right? Who has actually proven his worth in terms of migrating system from one place to another. And I think the best way to do is to ask those guys some kind of questions on what are the things that you should avoid, what is the framework that you will be incorporating while integrating, do you have exposure in the API integration, right? How are you going to take care of the bad data in our systems? How are you going to take care of the custom configurations, right? How are you going to get a sign off on the systems? So these are the kind of questions you should ask your uh, external vendors if you are looking for them, right? And that would actually help you understand whether you are actually choosing the right vendor or not in terms of integration. Because if he's not asking the right questions from you and he's not guiding you in that integration will be a mess. Okay. And the more mess it is, the more support tickets that will raise, and it would be a nightmare. So it's always good to wisely choose your Salesforce expert on who has done this integration. And the best way to choose is by asking right questions from him. And to ask right questions, you should understand on why do you need to integrate, how the integration process works. So maybe attend some webinars, try to understand on what integrations are, why do we need it, right? What kind of questions we should ask the vendors so that we are comfortable in doing it. And whenever you are doing an integration, do it in steps, right? So that take small steps, maybe just migrate maybe 100 records first, test it out, and then move further, right? Don't do the entire integration in one go. Take baby steps and move forward after validation, right? There are many other things apart from these that you should take care. And the list is endless, but these are the top 5 or 6. And if you remember them, that will actually help you in understanding on what things you should take care of and what things you should not take care of. So I think this brings us to the end of the webinar. It was just to educate you on why we should integrate. So you should ask why we should integrate, and then how you should integrate, and then the entire execution process, right? And we at Aplusify give these kind of educational webinars. We have helped a lot of our customers in their integration stuff. And for any questions or anything, you can reach us at vcare@aplusify.com or call us at 888-683-8281. Now, for any questions and answers, you can type in the question and answers box if you have any, and I will be able to answer them. If you have any questions on integrations or any help that you're looking for. And maybe if you don't have questions right now, feel free to email us at vcare@aplusify.com. We've got one question. Oh, sorry, it's thank you. Thank you, Paul. Let's see if you have any more questions. Yeah, so one of the questions I've got is that how do you make sure that the APIs are available for integration? So, see, that is something that is available on net. You can check with the apps. You can check their documentation. And if you are not comfortable, you can check with the experts on whether the API integration is available for that particular app or not. Right. And if you have any issues, you can take guidance from us as well, if required. Right. So I think we don't have any more questions. So thank you very much for listening to this webinar. And we keep on holding these webinars, and the presentation recording for this webinar will be shared with you after this webinar. So thank you so much. Thanks for listening, and hope that would have helped. Have a great day ahead. Thank you. Bye-bye.